Hey guys, welcome back to the stinkiest channel on YouTube, and today we're going to talk about advertising. No, not Raid Shadow Legends. I'm not that desperate yet. No, today we're going to be talking about advertising your YouTube channel and my recent experience with doing that. But first I want to travel back in time to the early days of YouTube and things that people would do back then to generally grow their channel. Things like sub for sub and view botting and subscriber botting and things that aren't really effective today and why they're not effective. So back in the day, of the early days of YouTube, what you could do is pay for a service that would use a bunch of bots to subscribe to your channel or to just get it a ton of views. And of course, none of these were real people, so it wasn't any sort of organic channel growth. It was a really admittedly kind of scummy way that people would use to boost their channel up to the front page, and it was pretty effective at the time until YouTube did a huge purge, essentially removing all of those bots, and I believe they might have removed all of those views that were associated with them as well. Now, in modern times, that wouldn't even work because the sub for sub it's not useful. The way that the YouTube algorithm works is that it looks for engagements and time watched, which are two super important things. Now, watch time on your channel is pretty self-explanatory. It's basically the more of your content people are watching and the longer they're watching it for, the more YouTube likes it. And the reason that is entirely for advertising. If a video is an hour long and it has 10 ads in it, and people are watching the whole thing and they're getting advertised the entire time, YouTube is making a lot more money than if your video is 2 minutes and has only one ad at the beginning and people aren't really getting advertised to that way effectively. Engagements is a little more complicated. The thing with that is anything from likes and dislikes to sharing a video and commenting. The main two is liking a video and commenting on a video. This is important because it tells YouTube that the video is being watched and is being engaged with, which they like because that means more ads that people can watch. And a thing like a bot watching isn't really, that's not getting engagement because the bot isn't doing things like leaving comments that are important or leaving likes on a video. They would just be spamming it with views, and that's not making any money for YouTube. So YouTube is always looking for likes and comments, even if those things are negative. Even if your comment is saying, oh, this video is shit, it doesn't matter because you're still looking at it. Same thing with dislikes, they don't care. If 800 people dislike this video, it doesn't even matter. Hello, Hazel, my beautiful cat. And the reason it doesn't matter is because you still clicked on the video and ads were still affecting you. So now that we know what the two important variables are, what do we do? What do you do if you're a small channel and you want people to engage with your videos? Well, you can make good content. That's really, you just make good content. That's it. Bye. Nah, but for real. Enter Sprizzy. Sprizzy is a platform that promises to give you subscribers, likes, comments, basically anything that you would need as a small channel to grow, and the main important thing is that it promises to do this completely organically without the use of any bots. So, is that true? Well, I wanted to find out for myself, so I decided to set up a Sprizzy account and put forth an ad campaign and put down $100 to see if Sprizzy could organically help my channel grow. And beyond that, I wanted to see what the effects of that would be on my channel, given that there has been some criticism about Sprizzy, saying that, yeah, people were getting some growth, but the second the campaign was over, everything just tanked down. So, let's take a look at the data, because honestly, it's pretty interesting stuff. So here we are at my computer, and this is what it looks like when you've logged into Sprizzy. What we're looking at here is this campaign on the bottom is the one that I completed the test, and this one on the top is another one that I did for a previous recording of this and am not allowed to delete, so now it's here constantly taunting me at how ugly it is. So what I want to show you guys is exactly what it looks like to create a campaign on Sprizzy, just so that we can get an idea of what I do know and what I don't know about what they do. So you go ahead and you pick your channel, and then it gives you the option to pick a video, and for testing purposes we'll just pick my butthole, which is a pretty good Jackbox stream, if I'm not gonna lie. I had a really good time with that one. I hope you guys did too if you showed up to it. And it's just gonna take a minute to load that up. And now that we're here, this is where things get kind of interesting because it almost hides information from you in a way. So if we come down here, you can name your campaign pretty easy. You can tell Sprizzy what it is you want the ad to do. You can say if you focus on subscribers or likes and comments. The previous campaign I did focused entirely on subscribers. They also have website views where you can put a URL, page likes, same sort of stuff here. So what's interesting is right here at the bottom, you can either write your own ad and submit it to them, or you can let them do it themselves. Now, I let them do it themselves because I was genuinely curious what it would look like, and I never got the opportunity to see that, which is important to know. But what they do is they show you a preview up here. Obviously, they haven't written the ad yet, so this preview is almost entirely worthless. Now, when you click on these, on the YouTube search and the YouTube related, there's just nothing, which I found super interesting because I was curious whether or not that would be true later. I was curious if this just wasn't showing me because they haven't written the ad and that would become something later, or if this is all I would be getting just as a commercial on a video. Turns out this never happened. There was never a commercial for my channel as far as I can tell when I reached out to people later. I'll show you what the ad looked like when it was actually up and running, just a vague idea. I was never shown, but this video ad I do not think actually happened. So you go from there, you can choose what country you're going to target. I put a bunch of stuff when I did it last time. Does this focus on a specific video game? You put the game in there. It's not going to let us go unless we do that, so spam the keyboard. That's our game. Go to the budget, and from here you can put in your money, and you get an extra 10% if you put in 100, which is kind of why I did that, just for testing purposes. So you can say when you want it to be started. Start immediately is what I did on my last campaign, and then the delivery speed, which I found particularly interesting because you have to imagine this from the perspective of a viewer, right? So if we set this to 1 to 2 days, my assumption is that Sprizzy would absolutely spam YouTube with these ads because it needs to go through $110 worth of advertising in 1 to 2 days. And that is a lot of advertising, at least I think, for that amount of budget, because I did get a lot of eyeballs on this ad. And I ran the last campaign at a normal speed of 3 to 7 days. And that held up true. The ad ran for, I think, 4 days, and we'll see that on the final data. And then you go save and continue, and then from there, it will allow you to pick tags. What it will do is take the video that you told it to, pull all of the YouTube tags off of that, and then allow you to add some more. It'll ask you what YouTuber you would like to target, if any. Pick someone who's similar to you, and they'll target the viewers of that particular YouTuber. We're not going to continue any further because I don't want to pay them $100 for this campaign on a random Jackbox stream. But this is just to give you an idea of what I knew, and this right here is the most important thing. It's the fact that I have no idea what they're going to do, and later on when the campaign is running, if you come back to this screen, they give you the option to check back in and see what your ad looks like. It's the same as what it looks like here in this preview. They don't update this, and I'm left wondering what the hell they're doing. So let's go ahead and just move straight over to the data. We're going to look at the data that's on Sprizzy first, and then we're going to look at the data that's on YouTube itself. So back here on the campaign screen, we can go over and just look at the data from this campaign. Super simple. And the data here is actually particularly interesting. The campaign I set up to go at normal, which as you recall was 3 to 7 days, and this campaign took 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 days to complete itself. And the starting totals they put over here, and then we have the total growth at the bottom, and then the scores just related to Sprizzy. Now at the beginning of the campaign, it tells you very clearly that Sprizzy will be very slow on the first day and pick up speed as the days go by. And that was entirely true. As you can see on the data here, it started with 446 additional views on the first day, 582 the next, 709, 716, and then a whopping 2,051 on the final day. I don't know what happened there, but it is interesting, and we'll come back to that when we get to the likes and the dislikes. Now, I don't know what happened on the second day. Sprizzy says that it needs like a day or two to kind of figure out what people it should advertise to, because if somebody comes to your video and dislikes it, they're not going to advertise to someone who belongs to that group. And whatever happened on the second day resulted in the worst returns, because I gained 3 subscribers, which is pretty good,
That's the same as the first day, but I also had a complete reversal of the first day in terms of likes and dislikes, where we have +3 likes and then +1 dislike on the first day. That is reversed to 1 like and 3 dislikes on the second. Now, this is also important because we can see that there's 2 comments here. There's not really any comments on any other days except for the Saturday, which is a couple days after this. Now, this comment addition is entirely misleading because those 2 comments, one of them is mine. Sprizzy counts any new comments posted on this video. That does not even people who clicked on it through the ads. So if I post a comment or any one of my other subscribers who were here previously post a comment, it counts that here, which is entirely misleading because Sprizzy did not give me that comment. I gave it to myself. And we'll actually get back to this comment and why it's so interesting when we get back to up here. So the total view count, we have that here. The subscriber gain was pretty steady. It was about 3, 3, 4, 3, 6, so around the same general idea. And by the last day of the campaign, they really seemed to figure out what kinds of people really like my content, I suppose. Those view numbers went way up. The subscriber went way up. The likes to dislike was absolutely huge, though this could just be, they could have just had the same thing they did here. Because you'll notice that's 13-1 and that's 14-4. Maybe this one is just an outlier. I'm kind of chopping that one up to be that way. Either way, the final day gains, pretty good. Now these 4 comments that they have here, 2 of those are mine. 2 of those are my comments. So in terms of engagement on the video, the likes are pretty interesting and the dislikes are helpful too because YouTube does look at dislikes when it shows engagement, but the comments are almost completely just barren, with exactly half of these being mine. 3 of these comments are mine and 3 of them are from new people who came from the advertising campaign. And let's go ahead and look at those comments actually. This is the first comment that I received due to the Sprizzy campaign, and I found it just so mystifying. It's by Eternal Sylveon, and it says, "What kind of advert is this meant to be?" Which got me thinking, what exactly is Sprizzy showing people? So I feigned a little bit of ignorance, and I said, "What do you mean? This is just a Let's Play I did. This isn't an ad. At least I don't think it is." I was, of course, not being entirely truthful. I know entirely that I'm paying for an ad campaign, but I genuinely don't know what my ads look like. I really wanted this guy to tell me, and he didn't. But this guy did. Evil Potato, a couple days later, responded with, "Your video is in an ad." And I said, "Oh, that's really strange. I feel really bad that I lied to this man. I don't think lying is a good thing to do, but I have such a burning curiosity to know what my ad looks like." So I responded with, "That's really strange. What'd the ad look like? Did they just rip my video and the whole thing was an ad? It'd be a long ad if it was that." And he goes, "No. In the video suggestions, your video was the very first one, separate from the others, had a little yellow marker saying ad and everything." And I said, "Huh, that's good to know. Thanks, man. I'll try and find it and figure this out." I was not able to find it, despite searching for the keywords that I put in for my ad, but I can give you guys a general idea of what it would have looked like. This is a general idea of what it would have looked like on YouTube. Essentially, the ad would have been placed here, over on the right, above everybody else's stuff. So what you're paying for is to sort of cheat the line for everybody else's content. Your ad will appear bigger than everybody else's stuff there. And because my ad was just the thumbnail for my video, unless people really notice that little yellow ad button, which I'm assuming a bunch of people didn't, it really just looks like my video is the next recommended thing for you to watch. I'm cheating everybody else out of being put up there, and I'm skipping the line entirely to get everybody else's attention with a much bigger thumbnail. Is that entirely fair? I guess. I mean, I paid for it, but it essentially tells me that YouTube is just entirely pay to win, which I think is intrinsically hilarious. So let's head back over and we'll look at YouTube's analytics themselves, which can give us a little bit more data that Sprizzy doesn't have access to, and we can see the final results of this entire campaign. Before we look at the YouTube analytic data, I would like to point out one thing, that whenever you look for Sprizzy and look for reviews or people discussing it, the main complaint that people who have used the service will give is that their viewer retention numbers absolutely tank. And what that number essentially means is if somebody clicks on your video, how long are they going to watch the video before they click off? And if you use Sprizzy, you're going to get tons of new eyes on your videos. You can see here, the views are just going up and up and up. I mean, they tank on the second day, but the second day seemed to be when Sprizzy was having a bad time determining who wants to watch my stuff. Regardless, the views are going to be going up, but not all those views are going to care, which means your numbers are going to absolutely tank in terms of who you're retaining. Now, for this little bit of data, I've actually selected two things. We have the original video used for the campaign, and that was part of a Let's Play, so that was the first episode. Now, the second episode is where I think the data is really interesting. Now, if we go onto the retention, average view retention, it is just going down consistently. It is insane how much it goes down. But that's to be expected because the views and subscriptions are really what I wanted to focus on as opposed to viewer retention numbers, which are important. Remember, those are important numbers. We don't want that retention to be too low. But there is a little bit of a shining light in terms of those retention numbers because if we look at the analytics just for the second episode, now let's assume somebody watched my ad and went to my first video and enjoyed it. They might have clicked on the second part. And if we look at the data, that seems to have been the case because you can see this big spike right about here. And that's when the campaign started. You see, it just shoots right up, and that's in terms of views. So that means people clicked from my first part onto my second part. And then we go to watch time, and again, it's not a huge increase, but it did start to go up a little bit there. And even the subscription numbers went up from that, which is pretty cool. So even though the original viewer retention numbers on the first video are horrible, you're getting a little bit of a retention gain on the following video if it's a part of a series and people really want to see what the next one is, which is essentially what all my content is. It's almost 90% Let's Plays on my channel here, so people watching the following episode is a good thing. So now that we've seen all that data, let's go ahead and do a big conclusion here.
So I've shown you guys what it was like to use Sprizzy and all of the data. So what are my takeaways? Is it useful for a small channel like mine, someone with only about 100 subscribers? Is it valuable for someone like me? The answer is maybe. For someone like me who just does this as a hobby and I make entirely live streams, I don't get a lot of engagement on my videos. That's not entirely true. It's just I don't get engagement in the way that YouTube likes. You see, I do live streams almost exclusively. Every now and again, I put out about once a month a video like this, but all of my live streams, people are obviously going to comment during the live stream as opposed to when it's been uploaded. So because YouTube doesn't acknowledge any of that, I don't get a lot of engagement, which means I'm not really favored by the algorithm. Also, my content is bad. So, yes, for someone like me who does this exclusively as a hobby, who's not really trying super duper hard to do really well, and especially I think if you're somebody who does live streams, I think Sprizzy is pretty useful to you. The main reason I'd argue in favor of it is because, number one, the views were great. I got a decent amount of subscribers. And the important thing is that the retention was good. And I actually planned to film this bit immediately after going over all the data, but that was actually a few days ago that footage was recorded. Now that I'm doing the conclusion a few days later, I can tell you, I looked over the data again, and the retention is even better than I thought. I was expecting it to super tank now that it's been a few days since the campaign has ended. I think it's been about a week, really, and they're good. Surprisingly good. So I'm pretty happy with it. I would like to remind you guys that I put $100 into this, which for some people is kind of a lot. I mean, even for me, that's kind of a lot. I saved up a little bit so that I could do this just to make a video and for testing purposes. But I've seen other people on like Reddit and 4chan, just places where people discuss Sprizzy. And other people don't seem to get that this is one of those things where the more you put in, the more you get back. I saw somebody put in $5 and were upset that they didn't get like 500 subscribers. It just doesn't work that way. Certainly, could I be getting more growth if I just worked really, really, really hard? Yeah, I could. But I mean, this is a really nice way to essentially cheat the system just a little bit, right? And the more that you put in, God, as I speak, I'm realizing the crux of the conclusion. Through use of Sprizzy, you can essentially make YouTube into a pay-to-win platform. And the more money that you inject into this, if you decide to become a pay-to-win whale, you can win. You can get all of this stuff organically. Sprizzy can spam your ads everywhere across YouTube, and it will work for you. And hopefully, through doing that, your retention will be good and people won't just dislike your video because they're tired of seeing your ads. But yes, the more money you put in, the better you're going to do. So I hope you guys liked the video. I hope that data was super interesting for you. It certainly was for me. If you liked the video, go ahead and drop a like. If you want to subscribe, you can. I do a lot of live streams. We have a good old time streaming Outlast 2 right now. He doesn't see me unless he looks through the window, and he's not going to do that, right? Oh! Oh, no! It's scary. If you don't want to leave a like, you don't have to. I don't care. You can do whatever you want. But at the end of the day, have a great rest of your night, guys. I'll see you next time.